Welcome to Washington Informer News, WIN TV. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer. I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of this week's issue of the Washington Informer. And I got to lean over here and grab a copy. But this is this week's issue of the Washington Informer. So I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy at your nearest newsstand. And if you're trying to figure out where to get the printed copy, because we, as I like to say every week, we like to continue, let folks know that we are still printing a newspaper. I don't think the clock is ticking, but it's just the fact that we want to make sure that people can reach us and read us in every way possible. So having said that, if you are watching on Facebook, please, friend us. If you're watching on Twitter, YouTube, all those things. We want you IG, where it says TikTok. Are we on TikTok, shall we?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. So anyway, but we are on the other platforms. So please, I want you to just go ahead and follow us, and we will follow you back. And of course, you can get a copy of the Washington Informer. You can read our digital edition at www.washingtoninformer.com. We think we have a pretty exciting show for you, or interesting show for you this afternoon. We are celebrating women in history this month, particularly at the Washington Informer. We are looking at Black women in history. So we'll be bringing to WIN TV Black women executives, Black women in the arts and culture, Black women in finance, and Black women in the media, because March 16th is Black Press Day, the day that the first Black newspaper was founded in the United States of America, Freedom's Journal. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that later. But in this week's issue of the Washington Informer, we featured a story on policing by Sam P.K. Collins. You all know the name, and he did a great story on policing. And he'll be joining us later to also talk about the concerns of our youth as it relates to public safety. He also wrote about Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie's efforts to create a reparations task force. So we want to hear more about that. And then our Prince George's County reporter, Richard Elliott, wrote a story about medical aid in dying, focusing primarily on medically assisted suicide, a bill Maryland legislators are hoping will pass after falling short a few times in the past. So Richard focused on that. And it seems as though, from what we can tell, a lot of you all readers in the DMV were very interested in that topic. And you can go to the website and read Richard's story. You can read that and all the other stories, as I said, in our digital edition of the print edition, but also on our website at WashingtonInformer.com. Our guests today are Melanie Campbell, convener of the Black Women's Roundtable and president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. And for our Black Women in History, we will feature Busboys and Poets art curator Carol Rhodes Dyson. We're going to have, I think, a very stimulating conversation with our Washington Informer reporter, Sam P.K. Collins, who I mentioned earlier, and our national correspondent, Stacey Brown, who are joining us to give us our reporter's recap. And then we're going to kind of wind the show up with Andrea Thomas, Chief Executive Officer of the United Planning Organization, who will be with us to talk about an upcoming webinar on mental health. So we hope we'll be having a great show, that you all will enjoy what we're presenting today and the guests who will be here. But first, before we move on, we want to hear our weekly news broadcast from Curtis Knowles.
This is WIN TV News, bringing you the news that matters. The Bowser administration announced Monday that the request for proposal for a marketing campaign to promote Black ownership in D.C. has been made public. The thrust of the advertising campaign is to raise awareness of resources available for down payment assistance, home maintenance, and other needs of prospective and existing Black homeowners in order to increase African American home ownership in the city. The firm will facilitate a series of focus groups to hear from potential homebuyers, realtors, and housing counselors to gather information on the effectiveness of the campaign. The RFP solicitation will close on March 21st, and interested firms are encouraged to apply at dmped.dc.gov. Eli Lilly will cap the out-of-pocket cost of its insulin at $35 a month, the drug maker announced on Wednesday. The move, experts say, could prompt other insulin makers in the U.S. to follow suit. The change, which Eli Lilly said takes place effective immediately, puts the drug maker in line with a provision in the Inflation Reduction Act, which in January imposed a $35 monthly cap on the out-of-pocket cost of insulin for seniors enrolled in Medicare. Insulin makers have faced pressure from members of Congress and advocacy groups to lower the cost of the life-saving medication. Insulin costs in the U.S. are notoriously high compared to the costs in other countries. The RAND Corporation, a public policy think tank, estimated that in 2018, the average list price for one vial of insulin in the U.S. was $98. David Ricks, the CEO of Eli Lilly, said, quote, patients should have a consistent and lower cost experience at the pharmacy counters when it comes to this life-saving medication. The social media app TikTok is rolling out features to curb screen time and expand parental involvement through family pairing. TikTok said in a blog post on Wednesday that it will automatically set a 60-minute daily screen time limit for users under 18, as well as prompt underage users to set daily limits for themselves if they spend more than 100 minutes on the app. It is also expanding family pairing, which will allow parents to filter out certain words and hashtags, set screen time limits, and set schedules to mute TikTok notifications. For users under 13, the feature requires parents or guardians to set and enter passcodes to enable 30 or more minutes upon reaching the 60-minute daily screen time limit. TikTok has consulted with the Digital Wellness Lab at Boston Children's Hospital in order to determine these time limits.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Yeah, we are just, let me ask you, oh, Carol's here. I don't know what I'm going to do right now, Sherry. I was going to talk about the cherry blossoms. We had an opportunity to attend the press conference on, was it Thursday? Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. But the announcement was Thursday. We'll get the days correct. But we had an opportunity to attend the press conference, and I guess you all have heard that the cherry blossoms will be full bloom between March the 22nd and I think it's the 29th or something like that. So, that means the spring is in the air, and that's their theme, spring on. We're going to have representatives from the Cherry Blossom Festival joining us later on in the month. And there's so much to talk about because I want to hear from you all too. If you could respond either in the comment section or send us comments at news@washingtoninformer.com. But we know, growing up, I never attended the Cherry Blossom Festival. And I've noticed over the years that a lot of folks sort of run away when all those tourists come to town. They don't want to drive downtown. A lot of stuff we do to avoid it, but it is really and you all know I like parades, so I can't help it. But I love the Cherry Blossom Parade. I really do love all the activities that the Cherry Blossom Committee, Events DC, and others have pulled together to make sure that this is a great event for DC. We need tourists in the city. So if you know folks, even if you don't plan to go, but you know folks that want to come down for the festival, tell them to come on. And also, we'll be doing a story later on about the cherry trees that are right here in Ward 8, where we're located at Oxon Run Park. There are cherry trees in other places in the District of Columbia besides down there along whatever that is, Jefferson Drive, or what have you. So there are lots of places to go and see them in the city and to participate in events. So we're going to share all that with you as time goes on. So we're going to jump now to our first guest, who is Carol Rhodes Dyson. Carol, welcome to WIN TV. Yep, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, there we go.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. It is, I always have such great respect for what you do, Denise.
Thank you. And I likewise, and I like the fact that, we've got people who we can hold responsible for keeping the culture alive.
Well, that's right, there
in
it
the
is.
DC area. So you're one of those sheroes in the area of maintaining our culture.
Well,
and
thank
you're
you.
currently curating for Busboys and Poets, is that right?
Yes, that is, yes, I've been curating My contract, I've been there since 2013, and we've expanded from I think about 3 or 5 to 9 busboys now, and I organize exhibitions for all of them. And then I do guest curating as well for Juanita Britton, Busy Bee, Anacostia Art Center, and Gallery.
I know
Well,
we're not here to talk
Anacostia
about the
Gallery and Boutique. There it is.
right,
I get
right.
it confused
That's
because there's the
okay.
Anacostia Art Center on Good Hope Road, but Juanita's is Anacostia Art Gallery and Boutique and Sweetwater Gallery.
Yeah, we're everybody loves Juanita and loves all the great art and products that she brings that decorate so
Ab-
many homes in the DC area.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Clean
and
culture.
I know we're not here to talk about that, but our heart goes out to not only the victims, but just what Andy Shalal, owner of both Busboys and Poets, has been going through with a shooting of an employee in front of his store on Martin Luther King Avenue, and then most
Oh,
recently
yes.
the one on 14th Street. I know he
Oh,
was on
yes.
television this morning,
Mm.
and Andy's not one of those people who will let things happen and not become engaged in solutions. So we're just send him our regards when you talk to him. And
Definitely will.
yeah,
Definitely will. I know has been working with the Anacostia group to do what the Thou Shalt Not Kill and
exactly.
put those posters around. And I know that there is, we also started talking or working with the art creatives in search of a solution, and met about a month ago, and we'll reconvene. But yes, it's incredible. But the idea is solution based. What do we do? What are all the things that we can bring from the many resources within the community to address why this is happening?
It's times like this when I think the arts and cultural community really do make a difference, from folks who sing to the music. I mean, what was that Black Lives Matter sign on 16th Street? It was a way, through an artistic way, to address, a social ill. Uh,
Yes,
so
indeed.
yeah,
I call that the Black Lives Matter that Mayor Bowser and Nancy Lyons that they created. The street was a brick in the window of that former administration, letting them know, we are here. This is our community, and we have a voice.
exactly.
So, and then the many placards, posters. It was a profound moment. A profound moment.
So, Carol, talk to me a little bit about you and what you do as an art curator, and particularly as it relates to Black women in the art. Is that your focus, or how did you get into the curation business?
I backed into it. And like so many things that have happened in my life. My focus has been the visual arts for a number of years. I started off doing at the Kansas City Art Institute, doing training, graphics, co-founded an art gallery. Came to DC, went to Howard, a degree in art history, worked for Professor David Driscoll, worked for Dr. Jeff Donaldson. So all these times just picking up snippets, picking up what they do, picking up the stories and the culture. Uh, and I think that someone said, well, Carol, in fact, I was referred to the position at Busboys, and they said they need a curator. And I didn't really consider myself a curator. I didn't.
Hmm.
But I accepted the position, started organizing exhibitions there, and then realizing that it's not about choosing what you like. It's about themes and so much more. I went to get a master's degree in curatorial practice at Maryland Institute College of Art, and spent 2 years doing that while I was still at working with Busboys,
Wow.
and then working in different institutions as well. As I said, I graduated from there, did art and science exhibitions at Howard University Interdisciplinary Research Building, combining those two. So it's been a constant curiosity. It's the curiosity of the world, and then trying to share what I see, share what people send me. I get really wonderful images sent to me, and I fall out sometimes. Because of just the beauty and the way that it's created. I mean, the skill. I mean, the skill.
So
But
how do you
everyone has a skill, right?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of I was funny. I was talking to a young man this morning who actually went to an event over at National Harbor where there are a lot of artists who are exhibiting over there. And he said, Denise, the art there is phenomenal, but how come we don't know about these people? And so, and where can we see their art? What makes it, what makes you as a curator, changing to what you do, what makes you as a curator decide that this is, the piece that actually deserves to be on a wall for public display?
Well, I'll answer that first question. What makes it There is generally color commentary, all of what the image addresses and how it addresses the aesthetic and the story. The aesthetic and the story is how I choose to put the artwork up. Then the second thing is that there are I don't want to talk about other publications, but East City Art lists and all of the kinds of arts activities that are going on. They're online, and as well, and the Washington Post used to, but I don't think that they do that much. It's more of a national focus. But I think that when you're at Busboys, and I think there are more entities that are showing art, and there's so I every. I'm sorry. Yes, this is exciting to me.
You
But
sounded like my friend this morning. He was like, "There's so much out
there
there."
is so much,
This
and
is
it just
great.
continues just to boom. There's another space that's showing art. Boom. Here's another collective or group. This city and I look at New York, Baltimore, DC, Atlanta, and I think that as they say, New York is the center. New York and London now, they are the centers for art and progressiveness,
Mhm.
broadness, and expansion. DC has got, I think, a national recognition. The people that do their art, they are excellent. This is excellent work, and these are folks that are in college, or some of them. There's a young lady that has some artwork up at the Tacoma Busboys, and when I saw her work and she was applying to schools, I said, you are fully formed now. You've got the
Mhm.
color, you've got the image, you've got the composition. There are people that will be working on that. Like if I was an artist, I would be working on it for the rest of my life, but she got it now. So I was
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
where are you applying to go to school? Because you go to Yale, girl. But she's a little shy, but
Mhm.
there, and I think that this region, because you
Why
have
Yale, Carol? What is it? Does Yale have some special program or something, or was that one of the choices of one of her schools that she was
Yale,
choosing?
I think the pipeline.
Uh huh.
Yes, there's pipelines, and I think that you have Kehinde Wiley that came out of there, and then there are a number of others. I think that the exposure, and I think that the pipeline and the demand, and so there's so many that Yale would be a place where just so much converges, ideas, push for what you're going to do. In these art schools, they push you. They provide all kinds of influences, and so yes, you have Maryland Institute College of Art. It's excellent as well. They push. I mean, the students, it's a whole nother level where you go in and you come out, and so Maryland is good, and an art school. So I'm not trying to back up off of encourage her to go to Yale, but I
I
am.
was yeah,
She's at that level.
I got you. I
She's
got you.
really at that level.
So when you're selecting art, I mean, because one of the things about busboys, the art is part of the experience. It's the food,
First thing you
it's
see is the
comfort,
art.
but the art is the experience. And so, are those, I've never asked, are those pieces available for sale? Are they
Oh,
really just,
absolutely.
oh, okay. All right, good.
Yeah, 90% of them are. We do have a collection. We have some of the larger posters, like Over the Bar, Anna Rose Sovic, whose work is not for sale, but she does commissions.
Mhm.
But yes, 95%, I'll say, of it is for sale. And we put
Wow.
on the labels the contact information for the artist because we take no commission, you know.
Uh-huh. Nice, nice. And so, I mean, so you actually go, I mean, I'm trying to understand how you do your job and how you find these artists.
So there's a couple of ways.
Mhm.
One way is that the artists go online to busboysandpoets.com, and
Okay.
under art, they submit 5 to 7 images of their work.
Okay.
And I, along with my assistant, Tracy Barwick, who's an artist and arts administrator, we we meet weekly, bi-weekly to go over the art that we're going to select and activities that we're participating in. The second thing is that research, I call it research. And that has been where I've gone to these exhibition openings. I try to be, I've been a little quiet, but in general, I'm out and about at most of these exhibition openings. So I have an idea of what people are doing. And that really helps me too to say, oh, I'd really like to have your work at Busboys. Are you open to that? So it is the people coming to us as well as me going and being a part of the community.
Before
You know,
we wrap up, because we are kind of running out of time here, but I want to know a little bit about your artist talks. And, when do you do them, and what would people experience by coming to one?
um, the art talks are every twice. They're the second and fourth Tuesday of each month. We did a special one just recently with Roy Lewis on the 28th of February. Roy Lewis being interviewed by James Early.
Nice.
James had mentioned that he came to me and said, Carol, what about an interview with Roy because of the fascinating history of the photographs, the front row lens he's had on African American history.
No
Let's
question.
talk about him. And I'm like, oh, you right. So we did that, and now we also have as I say, second and fourth Tuesdays, talks with the artists that are that are up. On the 14th, we're going to do one on women in the arts that are at Tacoma. That's Judy Beth Green, Lucy Cack, and then we have Lukman Ahmed, who is Syrian and has
Mhm.
done these images in support of the women's movement in Syria and in the Middle East.
Mhm.
And then we also have another artist talk at the end of the month in Baltimore, focusing on Baltimore women in the arts, where we're
Wonderful.
going to talk with Kara Ober and Rebecca Hoffberger, who founded the American Visionary Museum, the first person, founder and director. And then Tanya Hall, who is on the mayor in the Baltimore mayor's office overseeing visual arts in the city. So I just try to locate, well, I want to give the voice, the artists that are in the exhibitions a voice, but I also want to tie in and weave in the voices of the arts and other
Yes.
art folk so that people will be knowledgeable about what's going on. And we send out a flyer. I put it up on, social media, and
Right.
so that people are aware that
And
it's
so
happening.
these events are free too, right? Other than,
Absolutely.
of course, you're a busboy, so you're definitely going to buy something. But that's great. That's great. And there are busboys all over, so it's not just one busboys.
No, they're all over.
Yeah.
Tacoma, Columbia. We did one in Columbia a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And Shirlington, we do them all over.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I am really happy that you could take some time in between all of what you're doing to talk to us for a few minutes.
Oh
And
yeah, and
now,
I'm
go
now
ahead,
professor
please.
at Howard too.
Oh,
So
you're teaching.
I'll teach, yeah, yes, art appreciation for
Nice.
non-majors at
Okay.
Howard.
All right. Wonderful. I have so many more questions I could ask you, particularly as it deals with women in the arts and also the appreciation of Black art. But I think, well, Black Music Month is coming up, but we always kind of turn it into an arts month. So I'm gonna bring you back so we can talk a
Okay.
little bit more about, just the sort of the challenges and the opportunities for artists.
There's challenges, but there's lots of opportunities in this
Wonderful,
area, Baltimore. This is an incredible space.
wonderful. Okay, Carol, thank you. Enjoyed it, and hope to see you at one of those locations at a Busboys or over at Busy Bees or somewhere. I want to say my mom is watching, so she said congratulations to you too.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
she's
Tell her thank you
she's
very
really
much.
excited, and,
And I'm honored.
yes, okay, all right. So we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. So now we're going to. It was really good. I mean, if you don't have a piece of art by a woman or by something that's just unique. I mean, I know we go into what are those stores, the discount stores or what have you, and we got a little picture and we put it up. But it's really, really something special when you have that piece, that someone has done, and you can say it was, it was done. You bought it for a particular reason, and so it's good to. Not that you didn't buy the other art for a particular reason, but something special, like out of Busboys or some of the other places that Carol talked about. So we're going to talk more about that because we don't really talk about our fine artists as much as we do our musical artists. So we're going to move to that really soon. Sherry, do we have Melanie? Okay, so we're going to turn now to our Washington Informer. Reporting team, Stacy Brown, and well, we're going to start with Stacy. So this becomes not a reporter, but a reporter recap.
but I can come on every week if you're gonna play that music for me. What an intro!
All yours, all yours. Created by the one and only Chevy Lassiter. So,
Yep.
Stacy Brown, how you doing?
I am doing good. I'm with you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And before we get into anything, because you're sitting in your studio, can you tell folks about Let It Be Known? I want people to know about your show in the mornings because it is stimulating, informative, educational, and,
Yeah, you should have
and
heard us this morning
entertaining.
arguing. It's 7:30. If you want to watch it live, it's 7:30. Denise is working out at 7:30 in the morning. So if you want to watch it live, it's 7:30 on Black Press USA, the different social media channels of the Black Press. Sometimes Chevy shares it on the Washington Informer site too. So there you have it.
Oh yeah, well we're going to
Watch
continue
it on
to do that.
YouTube.
Right, right. Well, those numbers help you as well as us. But yeah, we want to make sure that folks do get a chance to watch because it's always great conversation about news that we don't get to hear in other places. So that's what I like about you and what you bring to that show. And it's definitely and you're talking to journalists from around the country. So that's what makes it really cool. So let's talk about Florida. There's been a lot of conversation now about, what Governor DeSantis is doing down there and the effects of the, shutting down all these, cultural history programs and what have you. Bring us up to date on what you've learned about the response to his move.
Well, HB 999 is the bill, the be all to end all. It's probably the most racist, the most sexist, the most homophobic, the most xenophobic bill ever crafted in the United States. And I think that says a whole lot. So he takes control, and this is going to pass because he controls the Republicans down there. The conservatives control everything from the governorship to the state legislature to the Senate down there, the state Senate. So it's going to pass. And it gives DeSantis total control, as someone put it, breathtaking control of viewpoint and content throughout all academic activity in the entire Florida system. It also eliminates any talk of critical race theory, any talk of Black history, which is American history. Women's and gender studies are eliminated. It's anybody. So hiring a commission that he puts together will do all the hiring at all state universities. The president has no say, president of the university, and if he objects, he can be terminated. It is really amazing. You got to look at this bill. I urge people to go look at HB 999. Denise, it is horrific.
So, I mean, first of all, what's left once you peel away all of these topics when it comes to history? I don't know what's left, because you can't talk about. I can't think of any white folks or white
No.
history, American, European history without having to talk about other people.
He says that they can only talk about the Federalist Papers and the Bill of Rights. That's it.
Yeah, but even I mean, well, hey, I mean, that's the bill. What can I say? I mean, and what are the folks? What are the folks in Florida do? I know we've got some Black newspapers down there
Yep.
that've been editorializing on this. What exactly has been the response? I know ASALH, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, they've done issued some statements on this, as well as many. Reverend Sharpton went down and with a group of folks, joined some folks down there that demonstrated.
Mhm.
What's the outcry?
Well, I talked to Bobby Henry, who's the publisher of the West Side Gazette down there in Fort Lauderdale, and really, it's just tepid. People, it's almost a surrender like attitude. Nothing we can do like attitude, which is sad. Yeah, you mentioned Sharpton going down, but this is something that you would think that the civil rights community would be really involved in. They folks have gone down for some FaceTime, and that's about it. For camera time, and not a whole lot more than that. There are some smaller groups, the local NAACP down. I know in the Fort Lauderdale area, based on my conversation with Bobby Henry, they have small protests outside the legislature, but no real outcry as you would imagine.
And what about the snowball effect of this? Have you heard where there may be other states that are looking at doing something similar, or is this
Oh,
isolated
there's no
to
question.
Florida?
Look, right in the backyard here, Virginia has been trying to eliminate any, as they call it, critical race theory. Um, they've been pushing alternative education, as it were, alternative history, because it's not American history, like you said. If it doesn't include Black history, because we are American history. Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta's the city, Georgia is talked. I know they have some legislators down there that are crafting bills now as we speak that'll probably mirror what DeSantis is doing in Mississippi. We've talked a lot on Let It Be Known in the morning what they're doing overall in Mississippi, particularly in the city of Jackson, and an overwhelming majority Black city. So Texas and Abbott. You're going to see a lot of copycats with this bill once it passes.
It's my understanding, and I don't know, Sam, if you caught wind of this, and I'm glad to welcome Sam P.K. Collins, our education and political writer here at the Washington Informer. But I understand that in some places that they're going back to creating freedom schools, really to sort of take up the slack of or to replace what may be lost in these other schools. It's kind of like my daddy used to say, no one can save us for us but us. But if it is to be, it's up to me to create places where young people can get that education. Sam, do you know anything about that, or what's your response?
Without a doubt, freedom schools or home schools, African-centered education, independent schools have been in existence from the 70s on. But a lot of people looked more toward them at the beginning of the pandemic, when there were a lot of concerns about educational inequity. But they have definitely been in existence, and with legislation passing at the state level to take out elements of Black history, we have more parents looking within themselves to figure out what they can do to make sure that their children are getting an adequate education. So the numbers grow every day, and DC has been an epicenter of the homeschool movement among Black people.
Mm. So when does this bill go into?
Yes.
When will they vote on it, Stacey?
They should be voting on it this month, but it will
Mhm.
take effect July 1st if it passes. And I say if because that's the way we're supposed to say it, but it's going to pass.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and I think Sam, we talked about this. We were trying to figure out on the flip side of this, how much, let's say other than Black History Month or Asian or Pacific American Month or Hispanic American Month, how much of this history is being taught anyway in our schools?
Mm.
Well, there's an African American history elective in DCPS. Right now, there are efforts through the revamp of the social studies standards to make that a mandatory class within the public school system. And you do have, I know, with the whole College Board conundrum that happened with the AP, African American classes, there is still some concern. But depending on the city that you're in, people are studying elements of African American history. You do have your literature with Zora Neale Hurston, uh, Tori Morrison, Toni Morrison. So there's there's some elements here and there, but it is still sort of surface level. I
Hmm.
don't really see a lot of touching on the continent, pre-colonial history other than Egypt, and even with that, it's not really quite honest. We still look at Egypt as part of the Middle East rather than the African continent. So there is room for improvement, but I do see teachers stepping outside of the curriculum, and I do see some engagement on the African American history front.
We're so interested, and I'm following your lead here, Stacey Brown. Michael Van Lasseter wrote in and said, HB 999, that 999 sounds familiar to me. But anyway, Jim Crow in Florida, again, it's nothing but a shameless attempt to hide the truth of this country's ugly history. And the more we study Black history, the more we realize how ugly this country's history is. So, I can. It doesn't surprise me that folks
Right.
want to keep themselves in the dark, not us, because we got to keep teaching. But on the flip side of that, and talking about the Republican Congress and just how people are trying to really control what's happening in cities across this country. Sam, you just did a piece on the Senate's vote on the DC crime bill and the fact that President Biden has decided that he is not going to veto the Senate's vote, which means that this is another attack on DC home rule. You want to give us some updates on that?
So the vote is coming up, but it's looking like it's leaning towards, some support for that resolution that would repeal the revised criminal code act. Joe Manchin out of West Virginia, as expected, is going to vote in support of that. And Biden, being a Democrat who is pro-police, who is pro-police, he has told Senate Democrats that he will not veto that legislation. And this is part of an effort, from what I understand, pretty much to just toe that line and to not be too radical, because the bill once again, shows some schisms between the progressive wing of the DC Council and more of the moderate conservative elements. And Joe Biden, he spoke about that through his press secretary as well as on Twitter. He did not like the fact that when Mayor Bowser vetoed it, that the council still wanted to go on ahead with it. And some people are looking at that as a contradiction on his part because he said he still supported statehood. Well, why are you supporting statehood except in certain cases? And once again, we're looking at a whole lot in this situation, especially given the fact that DC is going through a lot of crime, but the bill does not go into effect until 2025. And there's also some misconception about what the bill does in terms of long-run crime. I've spoken with Patrice Sultan of the DC Justice Lab. The bill, from what she said, aligns, right? It aligns sentencing with the degree of harm that was inflicted upon victims. So the criminal code, as it stands right now, is very confusing, and it puts a lot of the weight on prosecutors and judges for sentencing. And it is very convoluted and just uneven in how people are sentenced. So there are certain cases like when you burglarize a house and you sleep in the middle of the burglary, you get the same sentence as if somebody who was burglarizing the house and kidnapped somebody in the process of that. There's no alignment in accordance with the severity of the crime. There's no latitude afforded to offenders, which is what the Revised Criminal Code Act attempted to do. And a lot of these, this is my last point, a lot of these people on Capitol Hill, they did not read the bill. They have anti-crime sentiments. They want to make a message be known to their constituents, and they're using DC as a bargaining chip. And President Joe Biden has done the same, and it has called into question about whether he's going to run in the next election. And it looks like he pretty much is, from my vantage point, because he wants to, create that air of moderation around him, that he's not too far to the left, neither too far to the right. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, I just, Stacey, did you want to jump in before I?
No, I think Sam something. I just think that, Eleanor Holmes Norton, of course, the delegate in DC, she's upset about it. But the mayor, of course, is in line with the president on this. So it really leaves a lot of questions.
Well, one of the things that frustrates me a bit, and I think even part of the onus is on us as press, because this bill went through, and I think I read that into your story, Sam. They've been looking at the DC code now for almost a decade, in trying to revise it and to bring it up to date. There were loads of community hearings on this bill. Folks had opportunities to weigh in on it, I believe. Can you tell us, how did this bill actually get to the council and out of the council in the shape that it's in right now?
A commission was formed 16 years ago, and that commission included people within the criminal justice sector who looked at the criminal code as it stands and created recommendations to change it. And then the recommendations were packaged and sent to the DC Council, where it went through committee, and then it eventually went to the committee of the whole. And then during that process, that's when we had the hearings. And a criticism that I heard from a particular former ANC commissioner who was very vocal and very adamant about Congress striking down the RCCA was that there was not enough notification about the hearings, and that the hearings at some point took place during the pandemic. So there was some miscommunication about people's ability to communicate their frustrations. And another layer is Mayor Bowser. There was adamant time for her administration to jump in, seeing as though with the forming of the commission allowed people within the administration to weigh in on the elements that were there. And Bowser has said on numerous occasions that she has weighed in, that this was not a last minute thing for her, that even with her weighing in, proponents of the RCCA, they still went on to put in certain elements that that concern citizens viewed as not punitive enough. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to also ask, because this is a conversation I've heard people say, that the other part to the bill that or to a piece that's going to the Senate, is the ability for non-citizens in the District of Columbia to vote. Stacey, does that happen in other states? Is that an unusual bill for the District of Columbia, or do we see that in other states?
The District of Columbia obviously is unique in, that whole lack of representation, but taxation, what you see here is, it is kind of unique to the district. I don't know if Sam had any more information on I can't tell you where they do this in other states.
Mm-hmm. Sam?
It's rare in other states. It is rare. So the news, from my understanding, is that that bill, which was introduced by a different GOP member, overcame that resolution. So it made it back to the council. It is in effect as of last week. So that one is good. The main concern,
meaning that non-citizens in the District of Columbia can vote in DC elections.
That's my understanding. That is, it made it back. It's just a matter of dedicating the funds to establish the voter rolls. So you have the passage of bills, then you got the actual budgeting to fund those bills. So we got to see where it goes from there now.
Right,
But
right.
but in terms of that bill, a main concern was foreign interference in elections. That was what I heard during the committee hearing last month.
It's interesting because we just did a story on the presidential elections in Nigeria. And the one things, even though they're Nigerian citizens, if they live any place in the diaspora, any place outside of Nigeria, they're not allowed to vote in the Nigerian elections because they say there are about 20 million people, Nigerians, that are living around the world. And they could essentially, influence, an election that impacts the people that live in the country. So it's interesting the way now, do you think, Stacey, could we end up having a world leader that we all vote for?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. Looks like that's where we're headed.
Yeah. So let me ask before we go, because I those are the two topics that I wanted to bring up. But Stacey, what's on your top burner right now? I don't know if you want to talk about Chicago and the mayor's race, but anyway.
Well, I mean, again, what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi is it's absolutely horrendous.
Yes. Share that with us.
Yeah, this whole bill there, we talk about the bill in Florida, the bill in Mississippi and Jackson, it eliminates the power of the mayor, a black mayor, city's 83% black. It creates a separate justice system, literally, for whites and for blacks. They have a attorney general whose family is steeped in slavery, who shares the same belief that her grandfather and grandmom and her parents shared about slavery. And now they're taking over Jackson. And Jackson, as you know, they still have the water crisis. This is, the mayor called it. We had the mayor on our program. We also had Benny Thompson on our program, the congressman from Mississippi, and they called it another apartheid. And it's truly another apartheid. And then the mayor also went on to call it Jim Crow 2.0. It's all of that and more. It's something to watch for, because Atlanta, Georgia, the police department in Atlanta, they're pushing for a bill now that is in the legislature there that would create separate police departments there. So these things are going on around the country. They say stay woke. My thing is, if you still asleep, then we don't need you. Keep on napping, because this stuff is serious.
I hear you. Just saying, what's on your plate? And I don't want to jump, because I know that's really serious too. I agree with you, Stacey Brown. And I know you're going to be following it, and we're going to have you back, and folks are going to be watching your program, so we can keep up with it. Sam, what's up?
It's budget season, and the revised revenue estimate showed a budget shortfall of more than 400 million over the next 3 fiscal years. So with the mayor's budget coming out within the next couple of weeks or so, that calls into question what's going to stay and what's going to go. And one main thing that was a topic of discussion was the free fare bus program that was certified late last year. And the CFO, when they released the report, they did not include that free fare bus program. So once again, as the council becomes increasingly progressive, they're going toe to toe with the mayor about, money, about safety, things of that sort. And budget season, that's where I'm at right now with it. You got the SROs, you got the police staffing, you got
SROs being school resource officers, right?
Yes, ma'am. School resource officers. Ward 7 zone, Vincent C. Gray just introduced legislation. It was him, Councilmember Trayon White, Councilmember Pinto. They introduced legislation to stop the taking out of the school resource officers. So they sort of want to stop and reverse what the council put in after George Floyd was murdered. And it's going to be very interesting. So please stay tuned.
I want to thank both of you all for being with us today. I mean, we actually probably should do a whole show with our great reporters. So I'm going to talk to producer Chevry Lassiter to make sure that we give each other. And there's so much more our staff is covering, and you all are doing some great work out there trying to keep folks informed. So if you didn't hear it here on Win TV, or you don't hear it on Let It Be Known, which you will hear it on Let It Be Known, make sure you read the Washington Informer and check out the articles by Stacey Brown and Sam P.K. Collins. Gentlemen, thank you for being with me today.
Thanks, Denise.
All righty. Talk to you soon. So we're going to move next. That was quite a stimulating conversation. And yeah, we're going to have to even follow up on this question that Vera Abbott asked about the state's requirement to follow federal regulations. This is a country of states' rights, and states are beginning to assert their rights more and more. So we can talk a little bit more about that in the coming weeks. We are going to have now a guest from the United Planning Organization, Andrea Thomas, who's the Chief Executive Officer of UPO. And we're going to look at this quick video, and we'll be back in just a second with Andrea Thomas.
When people learn about UPO, I want them to walk away with knowing that there is an organization that is deeply committed to helping individuals and families in the community thrive in DC.
And the reason why we focus on opportunity and not just the service is because we aren't pulling people along. But what we're saying is, here's the door to opportunity, and we'll walk alongside you. We will help you because we recognize that our customers really do it for themselves.
Well, UPO has given me a second chance at life. It has shaped me, it has molded me, it has lifted me up.
We invite you to join in the anti-poverty fight with us, whether as a customer, a volunteer, a supporter, or a donor. We invite you to visit our website at www.upo.org.
Andrea Thomas, welcome to Win TV.
Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to be here.
I'm glad you could. You know, we were on the hot seat. I guess we'll cool a little bit, but what you all do there at UPO really sort of addresses those people who are stressed out by all these issues, and you all are solutions oriented because of the work that you all have been doing for. You just celebrated your 60th anniversary?
Absolute 60th anniversary, December 10th.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about UPO.
Sure. UPO is a community action agency for Washington, D.C. We're one of 1,000 community action agencies across the country with a focus on anti-poverty and moving people to economic security. Although we are anti-poverty, we consider ourselves, however, pro-community, pro-career, and pro-education. And so our offerings, if you will, to address some of the economic security issues that you talked about, our portfolio of training classes, everything from IT to CDL, culinary arts, EMT courses, you name it. Those that are in the high demand fields here locally, we train towards those in our portfolio of services. But we're also the largest early Head Start provider in the city, and we recognize that folks need also financial literacy and credit repair. So we try to take this holistic approach to helping our customers achieve economic security. And although it is not an overnight process, it is one where we are dedicated to walking with them through the process.
This has nothing to do with anything, but maybe it does because it's Women's History Month. But Andrea, you're the first woman president of UPO?
I am indeed the first woman president here at the United Planning Organization in our 60 years. Can you believe it?
I can believe it because I was trying to think back. I'd have a little bit of knowledge of UPO's history, and I was kind of scanning through, and I couldn't remember anybody that I knew in my lifetime who was a woman. So congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping that our audio is matching our video when it comes to thinking about diversity and equity and inclusion, and what leadership can look like now and moving forward.
What different do you think you bring to the table as a woman who's leading this organization?
Sure. You know, we often hear about leadership and leadership styles, and that women tend to have a more thoughtful, for lack of a better word, leadership style, in listening to what the team is saying, what they're articulating, the needs are, how they're articulating the challenges, and being sensitive to those needs, both internally and externally. And so understanding that we have these subject matter experts that are on the front line every day, feeding us information on how we need to approach and attack this issue of economic security. I think that the style that we bring as women lends to that. And then, you know, certainly in my background, understanding what it is to deal with poverty issues. You know, it certainly lends a level of empathy and sympathy to the work.
You know, I heard early childhood, I heard job training. What is there a target population that you focus your work on, or is it all across the board from cradle to seniors?
Yes, ma'am. From cradle to seniors, and actually, I will say from the womb, because we work with pregnant mothers, helping them
Okay.
to think about how best to go through their pregnancy to have a healthy delivery. And we know that for Black women in particular, that is a real challenge and a health crisis that we're in with healthy deliveries. And then on our other extreme, we have the foster grandparents. As you know, one of our oldest foster grandparents was 107 years old and still serving faithfully at her school. The
Wow.
foster grandparents go into schools and support teachers and children during the academic day. So yes, I jokingly tell everyone we do everything except work with your pets. I mean, if you need us, we are there for you.
That's a good one. I like that. So, you know, I know that you have a program coming up that addresses mental health, which is on top of mind for everybody right now.
Absolutely.
We just heard, and I keep bringing up these horrific stories, but we just heard about the stabbing at Petworth Library last night, and we understand that you know, there may have been clearly there's some mental health issues involved with that, but all the crime I think that we're seeing in our community stems from some type of mental health issues that folks are dealing with. And I'm saying that as an observer, because I really don't know that for fact, but you know, it just seems that way. So why are you all, tell us what you're doing and why?
Sure. So we are having a mental health forum next week on March 8th at noon, and folks can register to be a part of that. But the reason why we felt it was important to address this issue of mental health is because we have our customers coming to us to take training classes, to be in educational forums. And yet, if they can't escape, if you will, the stressors, both from COVID, poverty issues, whatever may be going on in a household, to manage that, then moving forward and taking a course or trying to receive some certification, it just will not mesh. The other thing is we see all around us, as you just noted, folks who are coming out of COVID, this increase in violence, this increase in stress, very much impacts the day-to-day, not just of customers, but of staff. So we need to be sensitive to how we can best support, de-escalate people who come in with their stressors because they are feeling desperate. So we need to think about that and what sort of resources that we're able to give to them, but also being very proactive and sharing information with our customer base and even with partners, because sometimes we share some of the same customers in addressing this mental health issue head on, because poverty, COVID, disease, stressors even for pregnant women, and what that means then for children being born low birth weight and what it means to their brain health. So all of these are just these factors that impact the long-term well-being of our customers, and again, even staff members. And so we want to be sensitive to that. And this forum helps to elevate that conversation.
Yeah, while you were listing things, I'm listing things in my head and said for the sake of mental health. I'm not going to mention them because everybody has their own stress levels or stresses that they're dealing with. So it's a virtual meeting.
It is virtual.
Okay.
And for folks who want to join, I see it's on the screen, upo.org/equity forum. And so we want everyone to be a part of this conversation. We have some exciting panelists who will be with us with expertise in youth wellness, school counseling, working specifically with men, particularly Black men. So I think that there will be something for everyone who participates in this panel.
When it's over at the end of the session or the very next day, what would you want people to walk away with, equipped to do? I mean, are there more resources they can come back to UPO for? How do you want people to feel, or what would you want them to do after participating in this webinar?
Yeah, during COVID, there was a time when the staff, we were away from one another, and I would always end with take care of yourself and one another. And what I want people to walk away with is, one, how can I better take care of myself and acknowledge that I might be hurting, and I don't have to pretend that I'm not hurting or I'm not burdened in some way. So that's the first thing, taking care of ourselves, putting our own mask on. And then secondly, walking away with resources to help those around us. And so it may not be just in the professional world, meaning again, our customers, but friends, acquaintances, and for our partner and sister agencies to also walk away with information that allows them to immediately share that with their customer base and with their teams as well. We have to be responsible for taking this seriously and having some very immediate action. And that is what I'm hoping for. One, again, for people to acknowledge that they may not be okay and to know that it's okay to say that, and then to go down the avenues that they need for mental wellness.
And then afterwards, because I know, and I'm not trying to put more work on your plate, because now I'm probably getting ready to stress you out. But, you'll hear from people about certain things. I know one issue, and I said I wasn't going to mention them, but it's food costs, right?
Right.
People, I mean, now that they've, that extra money that people have been getting as a result of COVID in the district, it's been cut off. And so now people are having to feed their families with so much less. But right. UPO has a response to that, right?
Right. So we have always, even prior to the pandemic, we were supporting families with food support. It expanded significantly over the past 3 years, and we are still doing that. We provide food boxes to senior citizens. We still provide emergency support to families who find that they need food and other supports. So yes, we recognize that all of that is still very much in place. So as we are emerging from this pandemic, some of those issues, those residual issues, are still there, and we are here to support families with that.
Well, that's what I thought was important for people to know, that, UPO does the work that other, I have to say this. When things happen in this city, there's always that person that says somebody needs to do something about that, right? Well, we know that somebody has been UPO that's been doing something about that for 60 years. Absolutely. And so I'm just happy that you were able to join us to talk about that. I might check in myself to the webinar next week. Yep.
Please do.
Good. So thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much for being with us today. Don't be a stranger here at WIN TV. Call us anytime, because we'd love to make sure that we can connect you with the community that needs the services that you all provide, and to help UPO raise money too. I don't want to forget that.
Absolutely. They can go to the upo.org/donate. We take that as well. So thank you so much, Denise. And you take care of yourself. We need you.
Will do. Thank you. And someone said we need to take care of the pets. So a good laugh always helps. Have a great day.
Okay.
Okie doke. So yeah, we're overtime, but we like to be overtime because we just are overtime. But we're gonna move on. Show a quick video from Curtis Knowles for celebrating Women's History Month. I want to thank you very much for being with us again this week. We will be back next Friday, same time, 12 to 1. Tell your friends to tune in. If you have any topic ideas you want us to talk about, send that to news@washingtoninformer.com. And I especially want to thank those of you all who commented. It's nice to know that folks are really watching and are part of the program. We're going to find ways to make sure we include you more as we move forward. So have a good weekend, but don't go away yet. But I'll see you next Friday.
February 28, 1909 marked the first Women's History Day in New York City. It commemorated the one-year anniversary of the garment workers' strikes when 15,000 women marched through Lower Manhattan. Almost 80 years later, an education task force in Sonoma County, California, kicked off Women's History Week in 1978 on March 8th, which was also International Women's Day, according to the National Women's History Alliance. And in 1980, President Jimmy Carter declared the week of March 8th Women's History Week across the country. And on March of 1987, activists were able to successfully lobby Congress in declaring March Women's History Month. Pennsylvania State Representative Joanna McClinton was voted this week by her colleagues as the new Speaker of the State House, becoming the first woman and the second Black person in the state's history to hold the post. The Philadelphia Democrat formally won the position Tuesday when she defeated Republican Representative Carl Walker Metzgar. McClinton is a native and resident of Southwest Philadelphia. She commented on her victory saying, quote, "It's almost 250 years before a woman could stand at this desk and not just give a prayer, but get the gavel. And that feels pretty incredible." McClinton joins Black females Rachel Talbot Ross of Maine and Adrienne A. Jones of Maryland as speakers of their respective chambers.